And one of the major things to make this all work is water. And we use SRP here, Salt River Project irrigation water, as you all know, in those tanks. And when I offered this, say, what kind of topics do you want to listen to or hear about? This was one that was brought up, was irrigation. Where does the water come from? How does it get here? How do we use it? Etc., etc., etc. So we got all these handouts. Thank you very much. Ben here is the gentleman that I talk to on the phone when we get we get our schedule at 2 a.m. on a Thursday morning or something, and I go, no, that's not going to work. And he understands exactly. He's been very accommodating to us. You always have, and I certainly appreciate that. I know Telly-Ann, Michaela, Dan, and I, and Alan, you helped us once with irrigation too. Kim, you've never been here.
I supervise and watch.
Anyway, we've all been out here.
Good.
So we really appreciate your help.
Sure, not a problem.
It takes about 5 of us
to do it without
uncomfortably,
panicking.
without any problem.
Right.
We got somebody new out front. She's over there. I'm going to go talk to her in a moment here, see if she wants to come.
Okay.
They just started like this week
Okay.
to learn about the in-ground out there.
Okay.
Let's see, a little housekeeping. Let's see, renewal time, don't forget. And I take any form of payment. But anyway, I sent you all a note about that. Next class, somebody had mentioned about pests.
I just arrived on the pest. Oh.
No, Rhonda.
I'm just kidding.
You're not. So I think that's a topic. I'll be working on that to get somebody with and that will be the first week end in April, the first Saturday, which is our traditional day of having classes. The second Saturday, we won't be here because we'll be at Happy Valley at our iRecycle event. But I'll send you all that information on Gripworks. Earth Day's coming up. Probably be another day I'm not going to be here because Earth Day happens to be on Saturday this year, right? April 22. And we all sing the April carols and we send out Earth Day cards.
Oh, cool.
No, I'm just kidding.
Oh. I meant interesting.
Interesting. Anyway, so there'll be some stuff in April, and it's going to start getting warmer. So I'm going to push this a little earlier. So we'll start at 8, and that's for you guys. We'll talk about that because I don't want you all to expire on me or target people. I don't want you falling in the heat. I think that's it, Michaela. Anything else?
Nope, I don't think so.
Take it away, Ben.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks for having me. I love doing things like this, working with the community, neighborhood meetings, so on and so forth. That's the joy I get out of my job. Is half of the work that I do is out in the field, meeting customers, new customers, old customers, and helping with problems. I'm Ben with SRP Irrigation. It's good to meet everybody. Just a little backstory. I'm going to give you a pretty quick synopsis of the history of SRP, how we were established, and how SRP enriches the valley itself. Has everybody heard of Roosevelt Dam?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's basically how SRP got started. Was every 10 to 20 years we would have these major floods in the valley, and the farmers would just get flooded out. So they decided as farmers within the valley itself is they petitioned the U.S. government to put up their land as collateral for the payment to build Roosevelt Dam, so we could actually control the flooding and have the reservoir up there, the lake itself, as a yearly transportation of specific water into the valley. So that's basically how SRP got started. Was, like I said, is the farmers put up their land as collateral, and they went ahead and built Roosevelt Dam. And then the years after that is, as the valley grew, You know, when they did build Roosevelt Dam, it is a hydro powered dam itself, and as the years went by, the more people that moved into the valley, the more dams were built with the hydro capacity in order to feed electricity to the valley. So that's where you get SRP water and SRP power. So that's just a little backstory on how SRP got started. Where the water comes from, if you guys, this last year we've had an awesome winter, and right now we're actually releasing water because we have to figure out the snow melt, the capacity of our reservoirs. We're almost 90% full on all of our reservoirs. Some are at max capacity, so we need to, we have hydrologists up in, you know, the northern part of the state, you know, on the rim itself is where the water comes from. We have them determining how much snowpack we have, what the rate of melt is, and that's how SRP determines how much water to release right now. Right now, I think it's like 1,000 CFS, which is cubic feet per second, which is quite a bit of water. But we don't let it go to waste. That's the thing, we let our farmers know when we are on water release, and they take advantage of that, which means that they try to figure out where they can use the water the best. So that's where we're at right now. A lot of people are concerned, you know, with the drought and California and so on and so forth. SRP's system is specifically for the valley. We do contribute, you know, a little bit of water to the CAP, but it's mainly just for the watershed of the valley itself. We do have within the valley, the east and also the west side is what we call aquifers. And throughout the year, we actually replenish those aquifers, which means we take that canal water and we flood huge amounts of acreage land, and we continue to flood those properties in order for that water table to rise. And so then that way, because the reason why we do that is during the peak of the summer when it's 120 degrees out and we have a higher demand for irrigation, is if our water table rises, then we can actually take that supply and put it in our canals. So that's why we don't waste water, it's a continued recycle. So whatever you're doing here, it gets recycled back into the aquifer, and then that gets replenished back up into the system. If anybody has any questions, concerns, or anything, or if you want to know as I'm going along, please just speak up, because I'm going to go into a you know, kind of a presentation rant. So yes.
Okay, so the Roosevelt Dam is on what river?
It is on the salt side.
Salt.
Okay, we do have two river sides, which is the Verde. Okay. One is the Verde, which is up by Payson. Basically, if you can think of it this way, you have the rim up on top, the Mogollon Rim. Payson is kind of where the split is, to where on the east side of Payson is all the Verde side, and then on the west side of Payson is all the salt side, which comes from Roosevelt. So during the summer, we pull more water from the Roosevelt side, which is the salt, because it's higher capacity in our reservoirs. So if you can imagine Roosevelt, how big it is, and 10, 15 years ago, we actually raised the height of Roosevelt to, you know, for a higher capacity. And that's, you know, our company just, you know, we look 10 years down the road as of the valley growth. But during the summer, we mainly pull from the salt side. Yes.
Is that where the Salt River comes from?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah, Salt River tubing, and
yeah.
that's why if you go on since we had such a good runoff this year and winter, the salt side is actually, we're releasing water there, but during the winter, you'll really see Salt River tubing. Of course, they're not going to run, but you're going to see a trickle coming down there.
Oh, wow.
But if you go to the Verde side, which is up by you know, the casino and Payson area, you're going to see that whole river, the Verde side, is going to be full.
Wow.
And so during the winter, we pull from that side because we have less capacity storage. When the high demand during the summer that's when we pull from the salt, is during the summer. Any questions on where the water comes from? how it gets down to the valley, okay. Let me continue with that, where the water comes from. It actually goes from the salt, and I'm going to stick with the salt side because, you know, that's the heavy capacity side. It goes from Roosevelt, and it goes to Horseshoe, and then Canyon, and then Saguaro. So that's our main reservoirs on the salt side. As soon as the bottom of Saguaro is called Granite Reef Dam, and we actually have the capacity at Granite Reef Dam to split the water to the valley. So we can send the water either northwest or we can send it south. The only thing I knew was my dad would call SRP, he'd order water, and they would give us a 2 a.m. Start time, which was awesome for me because, slopping around in the water at 2 a.m. was cool. But until I started working for SRP, I didn't realize how big our system was. We have a system that goes all the way, from the rim down to Gilbert, Chandler area, going south to the Indian Res there. And then we also have a system that goes all the way out to Tolleson. So if you can imagine, if you ever really want some backbone history of SRP, go on our main website and just play some of our videos of the history of SRP, and you'd be amazed of how we can establish the SRP system to help the community of Phoenix. Any questions so far on that? Okay. One thing how many customers in here have their homes that are irrigated or are part of a subdivision? So nobody. So yeah,
just south of me.
Okay. The difference between this property here and this subdivision over here is this itself is it's considered it's a water balance account, and the reasoning behind that is you need to be an 1.25 acres or more to be a water balance account, or if you're 1.25 acres or less, so like let's just say you're an acre, you will be put into a type 40 account, which is a subdivision, which you will get your schedule from us every 2 weeks during the summer, and then during the winter it's only once a month. Let me cover where the winter cycle is and where the summer cycle is once we go into dry up, and when we say dry up, which means nobody off of our canal system itself is able to get water within a certain, it's usually about 30 days, is the reason why we call it dry up is because we dry up the system, and which means our canals. And that's the ability for us to go in our canals, and we clean out all the silt, the shopping carts, the car parts, the tires, everything, in the canal system. And we do that every year in order to maintain our system. That's our chance to fix our gates. That dry up normally for the north side is usually about November, December. Actually, no, after December, so you're looking into January. And then February is when we restart the water. But you're still on the once a month winter cycle for the winter until April. So layman's terms is winter cycle once a month, you can get water in the subdivision. Summer cycle, it's every 2 weeks. So we only have one person here that's part of a subdivision. So any questions on being part of a sub?
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess I'm near one, I'm not in one.
Okay.
Where I live up in North Central Phoenix, but so we only get it once a month, like in October, November, and December.
Correct.
Well, October is still pretty warm, and everybody plants all the seeds.
Right.
So we tend to empty all the tanks.
Okay.
In a month period. Same goes for right now, because everybody's planting. But we've succeeded this year because of all the rain.
Right.
The rain, that's the theory, is in this winter time that you're talking about, it rains.
Mm-hmm.
To compensate for that.
Right.
Especially for growing plants. So it's important. It's really almost 2 months that you don't get anything. We get our last one in mid-December, and we get our first one in February.
Correct. Yeah, and every year we always do a dry up, but they call it, I think it's a 7-year plan, is because the crews that we have on hand during dry up, if you can imagine, if we emptied the entire system and did all of our work at once, I mean, there's no way we would get done, you know, for that dry up. So there's certain portions of the canals themselves, like 5 miles at a time, 7 miles at a time, to where we will do this year, and next year it'll be further down, so on and so forth. We also do have dry ups to where during, like, let's just say, your water balance account for this property itself, we will have a dry up continued after the original dry up, because we're still trying to do maintenance and repairs.
That happened 2 years ago.
It did. But we normally won't do a dry up in a SRP delivery gate itself unless it really needs it. We have leaky gates, bad stems, bad frictions. So that's something where, because we know that our customers need the water, especially during the summer, and we try to do what we can to give you that water, but some,times it's just the name of the game on that one.
I'm not complaining.
Oh yeah, no. But any questions on the backstory of SRP?
Well, not quite, but when you said stems and frictions, what does that refer to?
Well, if you drive around the valley, you see these big gray structures, and this book right here, this actually, we did put this together this last year, but it has pictures in there and kind of explains a little bit. But when I say stems and structures or frictions or anything like that, okay, if you have a square box, concrete box, and if you can imagine that water's flowing downhill, it's all gravity fed in our system. We don't use pumps to pump water up, it's all gravity fed. So in the structures, we actually have a center friction to where it stops the water, it builds the head pressure up, and then that's where our SRP delivery gate is because when we stop the water, it builds it up in the box, and we can deliver water at that time. The friction does what it's meant for, is it builds the head pressure up and spills over and then continues to the next one. So you're gonna see these structures probably every half mile to mile on a, like 7th Avenue or 7th Avenue. You're gonna see them every half mile to quarter mile of our structures. One thing that I wanna relay to everybody is this is the biggest thing we get from our customers is, my structure over here has a bad gate and I want SRP to fix it. Well, SRP does not own anything in a private system. This ditch over here, we don't own it because we did not install it. When all of this was farmlands and orchards and pecan trees and whatever, when a developer came in and they built all these homes, we already had our structure in, and the developer tied their private system into our structure, which means that SRP, we own that structure, we own that SRP delivery gate, but anything beyond that was done privately. So it's up to the customers and the private property owners to repair and maintain anything in that system. So if you'd have a broken pipe going across the street, then it would be up to the customers to make that repair. So yeah, just to kind of reiterate that, SRP's responsibility ends at our delivery gate. And one thing that I do, the misconception too, is some customers think we own the water. We don't own the water. The water belongs to the land, and those water rights will never go away from the land itself. So if you, as a property owner, if you sell your house and move to another house, you can't take that water with you. That water right belongs to the land. So, just want to reiterate that to where it's a private system. You're responsible to repair and maintain said system, and especially open ditches like this. Since we had some really good rain, I spent this last week sending out a lot of berm repairs and dirty ditch letters to customers, because it's the responsibility to make sure that the ditch is clean and free of any debris. if you have any time to where, you know, if you need a reminder sent out, definitely give us a call, and we would you know, send those reminders out to customers. Any issues, broken gates, dirty ditches, that's something that we do for our customers, because if you can imagine trying to knock on 50 doors trying to get something accomplished, we're here to help, you know, do that. So any questions on the private system and where, you know, SRP's responsibility is?
Yeah, I've got one.
Yes.
The private system, you said, is there those people's responsibility? How do you organize those people when you have a problem? Say you have a gate that's not working, and you have to get down in there together.
Yeah, and SRP, we're here to help out any way we can, but because it's not our system, we cannot tell somebody what they can and can't do in a private system. But if there's a broken pipe under the road that is causing a flooding issue, normally what we consider flooding is if it's going to create any damage to private property. SRP has a right to suspend that water from going into the system until it's repaired. Now, where it comes from trying to get a hold of, you know, customers.
50 people to fix that problem so we all get water.
Right. What we will do is we will send out that suspension letter to let everybody know that this is the reason why you're not going to get water. And we will not call people to say you need to, you know, chip in $10. It's up to the customers and the neighbors to talk to each other and to get the contractor funding whatever needs to be done. But SRP will never send a letter out saying, well, it's going to cost you know, $250, contribute $20. We will never do that because it's not our place to say that.
As an aside to that, when we first got here, we had to repair that pipe. And the subdivision to the south and the church, which is another one, we worked together. They bought the cement, we did the labor, and we fixed it.
Right.
And there's usually in these subdivisions, there's one person that the neighbors have all agreed to be the spokesperson.
It's like a key homeowner in a
Right,
sub,
a
yeah.
key person.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, we got one of those threatening letters.
Well, I would say threatening, but
and I was so new to it, I didn't really.
Yeah.
What's there? What are we talking about? So anyway, also I wanted to talk to the volunteers that are here. If you mentioned the word maintenance.
yes.
Maintenance of the channel. That's one of the big things that we do. We cut all the weeds out. I gotta go in there and keep all the garbage out. This is my question to you. Down the way, at the vacant lot down the way, they have a bunch of homeless people that live in that canal constantly.
Mm-hmm.
Is it, whose responsibility is that to try to get them out of that channel?
Okay. We've been running into that issue also on our canals as of, you know, do they have a right to be there?
Right.
It is our canal and the banks, and I think that, you know, we have a right of way. Do they have a right to be there because it is government property? Yes and no. That's still kind of being weighed as of technically, because it's government property, you have a right to camp 14 days. But it's actually going back to legislature as of dealing with that specific issue, as of reducing, you're not camping, you're homesteading, and you know, which you can't. When it comes to the homeless and the private systems, I actually, a couple weeks ago, I had to deal with this. Is City of Phoenix does have a neighborhood services, and they understand the problem. The police department, we are trying to reach out to them more to try to get a better understanding of where their hands are tied on a lot of stuff. But we will try to help out where we can on the information that we can give you. But ultimately, I always tell my customers, the power is in your hands. I can give you the tools, but it's up to you guys as customers to take care of certain issues. Neighborhood services, they're really awesome about trying to help out communities because they want to keep the home prices up. They want neighborhoods looking nice. So definitely keep bugging them about if you do have issues like that.
I don't want to put you on the spot. I'm curious, this is a question. If, let's say someone uses it as a restroom, this canal, and the water goes through, takes whatever's there down to the septic machine. Whose responsibility is that?
Well, if you can imagine, originally where I said where the water comes from, it comes from our lakes.
That's right. You don't know who's using these canals for what.
I mean, you wouldn't believe what we find when we do our dry ups, what we find in our canals. I mean,
I can imagine.
Oh yeah,
I was just getting ready to say, I can
yeah.
I don't think you have to.
we don't need to go there.
Yeah.
This is why you don't drink the water.
Right, and
We're
the actual, a lot of cities, actually most of the cities, the water treatment plants, they get their water from SRP,
That's right.
but it's treated water. So if you can imagine, I as a kid, you know, I'm not going to say how old I am, but a lot of years ago is I used to swim
Don't say it.
in the irrigation.
Don't say it, because I used to
swim
do
in
it too, so don't say it.
But I turned out just fine, you know? I mean,
Swim in the canal.
so I used
far,
to swim
so
in
far.
irrigation all the time.
Yeah, I
But-
have a scar.
Yeah, it was a different time back then.
Yeah.
But nowadays, you know, you wouldn't, like I said, you wouldn't believe what we find in our canal. So I would definitely stay away from drinking it, swimming in it. You will find fish, you will find crawdads, you will find, you know, toads, frogs, whatever in there, because it does come from our lakes. And anything smaller than 4 to 6 inches will get through our grates from, you know, where the dams are, and you know they'll make it down here. So
We have had that.
yeah.
See, Tilly Ann is there. Remember, we had a fish that needed in that tank over there. Open the thing, it comes out.
You went through our pumps.
Oh yeah, I believe it. I believe it. Yeah, it just a funny story that my dad was an electrician with SRP. He retired years ago, but he used to have to go up to Roosevelt quite a bit. And so he told me this story one time, which was kind of fascinating, was before they built that bridge crossover at Roosevelt, you had to drive on the dam. Well, on one of the rails, there was a cable hanging off one of the rails where the dam was. And so he pulled that cable up one day, and he saw a deep sea hook with a whole chicken stuck to it. And he said the reason why somebody was trying to catch or using that chicken was there was catfish down on the bottom of that dam that was over 6 to 8 feet long. And imagine if you could pull up that cable and you could have a 6-foot catfish. I mean, that'd be great. But anyways, sorry to go off on a tangent, but I thought that was kind of cool.
Anyway, thank
Yeah.
you for.
Yeah.
I know there's no answer. We have to deal with it a lot. This neighborhood.
Right.
And things like we take blankets and stick them in the channel underneath the road there.
Right.
Pull that out. I don't know what's in there, what dies in there. Who knows?
Yeah, and that's another thing too is, you know, partial plugs. You know, part of my job is to investigate, try to help, and you know, try to take care of some issues. We get partial plugs. We get neighbors not repairing their berms and they're flooding each other. So we're here to help where we can. We can't do it for you, but we have the information, we have the knowledge, and we have the resources to help everybody out to help, you know. So we run water 24/7. It's running all the time. I mean, from sun up, sundown, you know, 2 o'clock in the morning. So if you have any questions, any concerns, please let our office know. We have reps in our office 24/7. Our reps are super awesome. I mean, I just hear nothing but great things about them. I deal with them on a daily basis. We have a lot of new reps, but they're getting on board and they're getting up to speed to get ready for the summer. So they should be good to go, take the ground running. But our reps are super awesome, and I can't say that enough. I take pride in my job, but they take pride in their work. So definitely give our office a call 24/7. Anything that we can help with.
I have.
Oh yeah, especially when I schedule you at 2 a.m. And the thing, being a scheduler, we call ourselves a field service liaison / scheduler. Is like I said, is 50% of my work is helping customers, and 50% of it is in the office scheduling water. So I schedule 5 areas. One area might have 180 changes in one day. One area might have only 85 changes. But if you can imagine the Zan Harrell area 15, which is this area, and I actually used to be the Zan Harrell on this area, it's long. It's top to bottom. It's only about 3 to 4 miles wide. But if you can imagine trying to schedule water from where the Zan Harrell has to release the water, then they have to drive down to another gate, which we call continuations. If you want to send water going from north to south and then back west and then south, we have structures where we call continuations, to where it's basically redirecting the water to go to someplace else. Most of this area, everything runs our main laterals, which is north to south on the main, like 7th Avenue, 15th, 19th Avenue, 23rd Avenue, so on and so forth. But if you can imagine, the Zan Harrell is doing this all day long, and I give them that schedule to do. So during the summer, super busy. Within 5 minutes, they have to be 3 miles, from each other. So they're super busy, but we always strive on safety. Safety is the key word, basically, in SRP. We can't strive enough to be safe out there, and but they also have a job to do. So
You've always been very accommodating.
yes. Like I said, we try to do what we can to help where we can. If something will not work, or if an issue happens, we'll always give you that information, at least give you heads up what's going on. Like if our SRP gate is broken and we can't give you the water that you're scheduled, we'll definitely accommodate on saying, well, we're gonna have to cancel this order, but we'll go ahead as soon as we're repaired, we'll get you right in there, as soon as we can. So any other questions, concerns? I know that I'm just kind of going off on a tangent, where I'm kind of all over the place, but I want to feel like I'm covering a lot of information you guys are here for.
Why don't we, let's switch it to locally, just for us.
Okay.
And you don't know what we do. You kind of know.
Kind of, sort of.
Kind of know.
Yeah.
But Delianne knows, Alan knows, my dad knows. Let me add one thing. Are we going to always have it on Saturday? Was it Saturday the last time? Or Friday?
I think it was Friday.
You know what?
I don't know
Lots
what,
happens
well,
since then.
every year it switches. The day switches.
Okay.
Just how you doing? I got to let you guys know by 4 a.m. on a Wednesday now.
Right, and one
instead
thing,
of a Monday.
Yeah, one thing that you do have to understand is if you want water for tomorrow, I always schedule today for tomorrow. Mm-hmm. So, and the reason for that is
timing.
Yeah, and the reason for that is at 3 o'clock, like I'm scheduling today's or tomorrow's scheduled today. At 3 o'clock, we send that information to our transmission department. Oh, excuse me, that was a bug. But it takes 20 plus hours to go where transmission figures out how much water they need. And it takes 20 plus hours to get the water from our reservoirs down to our canals.
Got it.
So that's why we always schedule today for tomorrow. So yeah, the cutoff is 1 o'clock.
Right. Is it 1? Okay.
It's 1 o'clock. I can sign off my area at 1 o'clock. But we always accommodate if you call in at 2 o'clock. Oh, I forgot, and we can work something out. We'll we'll try to take care of you. But
so Danielle, who's waving here, she's with Native Health. She's new as of this week. That answers, I can't answer your question. When you ask me when does it come, I won't know until Wednesday afternoon at 4 o'clock.
Right. Anytime
Yeah,
after
that's
4
how they
o'clock
tell
is when we
us.
send out the notifications.
To us.
Right.
You have access to that site, and I'll show you how to do it.
Okay.
I gave it to Lillian and Melissa. But what the rest of you might see me doing, I'm thinking I'm nuts, going around knocking on all these tanks. But what the hell is he doing? Well, I'm seeing which ones are empty.
Right.
And then I kind of guess, I have to guess and tell him the length of time. We don't change head pressure too much. That's important. The pressure is important for you to get there. But for us, we really don't change it that much. So sometimes it's in the middle of the summer, we need 45 minutes. But like this upcoming one, it's going to be like 20 minutes, maybe.
Right.
It rained a lot, we don't need a lot of water.
Right.
So that's what Michaela and I are going to learn how to do, and Danielle or whoever the new person, we work together and we tell Ben, okay, this is how much we need. So then, once we find out the day, then we schedule everybody, the volunteers. Kellyanne is a regular volunteer. My dad is. I am. Michaela's going to be one now. Frank. These are typical ones that are always here. Some people have been here bits and pieces, but we can always use help.
We want everybody to get here at least one time, so
It's
you
just to kinda
understand the problems we
understand
have
what we do.
and why we do what we do.
So Ben was talking about right here next to Kellyanne. He said, gosh, there's a lot more here than there was the last time, which is absolutely true. It was here. We use these pumps. We have 2 pumps that we sit over here. Underneath where you are sitting is a piping system that goes out to all these tanks that you see all around. We put the intake, which is what Kellyanne's, that green pipe. We got I have a little bitty hole in the canal, and I sit it in there, and then it pumps the water into all these tanks.
Takes about 4 minutes to fill one of those tanks.
Yeah, using this pump. Okay, that's pretty fast, but we can always use help.
Always.
What I think, the reason I asked you about Saturday, that's a great day to have for us, because I can have a lot more people just to show up and help us out.
Right.
And you get wet sometimes if you don't know what you're doing, right, Michaela?
Ashley.
I never get wet.
Ashley too. Ashley knows how to do it.
Ashley knows how to do it too. So that's how we get the water coming out of this canal into these tanks, which you use to water all of your seeds and all of your plants. Danielle, yours is a little different. You're an in-ground still. And it's the old way, the traditional way, I guess you would call it, flood irrigation out there. And then, so the water goes all the way around to where I was showing you where your compost pile is going to be. You know, so we've learned how to do it, but we need to impart that knowledge onto others.
We won't always be here.
I won't always be here, you know, every summer or whatever, and Michaela can't do it by herself. Like Dan said here, you need at least 5 people. Makes it comfortable. Yes.
And just an FYI, what Terry and Dan does, these tanks for the gardens on this side, if they run empty, Terry and Dan will transport water from that side into your tanks, so the gardeners that have beds over here don't have to walk all over here to get water.
Right.
So he does that for you guys with gardens on this side.
Well, I have a really quick question.
Yes, Terry.
You probably have answered it. So I come from Chandler Gilbert, where it was all farmland, cotton, that's all it was. And I used to see, growing up there, you'd have the fields, you'd have the canals, and then you'd have the piping, or
The siphon piping.
yeah, that would come in, and they would pull it. That's what you're talking about, correct?
Well, that's what I'm not doing.
That's the same. It's the same.
It's a kind of, but I'm
Similar to
forcing it.
that?
I'm not using siphoning or gravity or whatever. I'm using that pump.
So I mean, but they would get the water
It's
from
a-
the
it's a-
canal and to water the
Yeah.
like
It's a
the
time element
the
for us.
That one we just opened a gate.
Yeah, and
to water the fields, the
Yes.
crops. It was the same. That's the same way, right?
right. Well, the siphon, the black pipes that go over the ditch,
Mm-hmm.
is that what you're talking about? Where they would siphon it?
This.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they
it's-
would water it, so it would water the fields, and you would just see the fields.
Yeah, they would have rows,
Yeah.
and then it's still done today. That the farmers still, especially out on the West Valley, but that's just transferring instead of having, because this itself is just a slide port gate, and that's what normally you're going to have on slip form ditches or open ditches, and it's just a gate that you pull. And farmers use these all the time also. They just have these along the ditch itself, and they pull the gates and let the water come in.
Okay.
Those siphon pipes they're great, but
A lot of work.
they're a lot of work. As of if you need to set up a row of 150, I mean, that's a lot of work trying to get that water. And the worst part of it is if SRP, and this has happened before, is as a Zanharrow, I accidentally dropped out one of our farmers in a ditch to where the water was going somewhere else. All of a sudden I get a call from the farmer say, hey, where's my water? Now he had to reset all of those pipes because I dropped them out. But that was just, it happened. I mean, it's I can't explain why, whatever, but it just happened. But it's water, I mean, it's not like electricity where you flip on a light switch
Yeah.
and it's there instantly,
So, in a quick summary, our water comes from the ditch or the canal at Dunlap.
Yes,
Basically,
yep,
Dunlap.
just north of here.
It comes down Dunlap, down to us, eventually. Not this canal that's right over here.
No, that's
would
the
be-
Grand.
That would be going uphill, and you can't do that. Well, you could. But
Yeah,
expensive.
so up in Scottsdale, that's you have the Arizona, which comes off of the Granite Reef, and then, like I said, is we actually split the canals. The Grand goes all the way out to the West Valley, but in Scottsdale area, we can also send water down to Chandler Gilbert, which that's different canals over there. So it basically splits the whole valley, the valley.
So, we don't want to waste it, right?
Right,
You don't want to
100%.
waste your water.
Yeah.
So,
That's the timing of it. The reason we have to use the pumps is because our in-ground irrigation can only take so many minutes of water.
right.
And we have to fill the tanks in that same amount of time. And as you remember, Terry said we go around and measure how much water we need. So we have to kind of coordinate. If all the tanks are empty, we'll get 45 minutes of water. Today, tomorrow, or whenever we get it, we're only going to get 20,
25, somewhere in there.
So the ground irrigation is going to suffer a little bit. They aren't going to get as
That's
much
you.
water as they usually get, but they don't need it because the
been
ground
raining.
is pretty well saturated.
Or we pump out the water like Michaela and I did yesterday and watered it.
Oh yeah, we'll come and empty the tanks out sometime just to soak the beds, get them good. We'll do that. We do that on our own.
So for all of you gardeners that are out here, what to take away is don't waste water, don't drink the water,
Don't swim in the water.
don't swim in the water.
help.
We don't have any hoses. There's no drip system. There's nothing like that. You have to haul your water. That's what we do here at this particular garden. Not every garden is like this. But that's what we've chosen to do. Is there any other questions you have for Ben?
Good. It looks like I
Any other
answered
questions?
everybody.
Yeah, any other questions for me?
I guess I just wonder how a partner, it's not really a partnership, is it? It's more like
Co-op.
a utility. Like, I mean, it is utility.
Oh, who they are? Who
Yeah.
SRP is?
No, I mean, I know this, I think I know this.
But they're unusual. They're not a government, but they are.
Basically, SRP, we're considered as a government entity, and which that means is we're protected. The water side is protected by the government because that is
Federal land.
it was established as a federal declaration back with Theodore Roosevelt. The power side, and we get in arguments with linemen all the time. They're like, well, SRP wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the linemen. Well, no, people don't realize that. Where do you think your electricity comes from? Originally, it was from the dams, other than, the solar and all that now. But electricity would not be in the valley if it wasn't for the water side. So that's why the water side is protected itself by the declaration from the federal government.
And you vote for a board.
If you have 1 acre,
Right.
you get one vote. So we have a board that, yes,
It's weird. It's different. It's different than any other kind of because farmers have some kind of rights or whatever.
Yeah, we have original farmers back. I mean, the families have passed that on down to where
This piece of property.
Probably.
yeah, there's farmers on the board that their original, great-great-grandpa was one of the farmers that put up their land as collateral.
Yeah, but I'm going to get into it. Whenever you read something in the political end and it has to do with water, it is usually the people the families who have been here for years. They've got those water rights, they paid for the water rights, and they want to keep the water rights. And they're going to fight for them. So that's why you see this political thing going on all the time when it comes to water. It's an ancient thing from the Indians down.
Yeah.
It really is.
It has
It really
nothing
is.
to do with CAP water. That's Colorado River. It has nothing to do with that. The snow, you want it to snow on the east side over there for those watersheds. I don't care if it snows in Flagstaff because it doesn't really
I think
up in that system.
the CAP gets that water,
Right.
Lake Pleasant, that's where they get their water from.
Well, the Verde comes off.
Some of it.
Some of it,
Some
yeah.
of it.
Yeah.
So in the monsoon season, you want to keep raining over there.
Yeah.
I don't care if it rains here. Rain up there.
Yeah.
Because that's where we save and that's where most of our water comes from. Okay. No other questions. Michaela, is there anything that I need to bring up that I'm forgetting?
I don't think so.
Yeah, there's one thing that I do want to mention is one thing that I deal with as a field rep is we get a lot of customers complaining about other customers taking water, so on and so forth, when they're not supposed to. There are water laws pertaining to that as of knowingly taking somebody else's water, but most of the time, probably 99%, is somebody new moved into the neighborhood and they see their neighbor taking water, so they're like, oh, hey, why not? I'm gonna irrigate my property. We as a field rep would love if you would reach out to us and let us know that, hey, there's a neighbor that's new. We would love to reach out to them to educate them on flood irrigation. It's a collaborative, working together as neighbors, and it's not like 20 years ago when everybody knew everybody in the neighborhood. You don't get that nowadays, but we would love to reach out and educate people. So definitely give us a call, let us know.
Daisy agrees.
He agrees, yes.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Thank you for being here. We're going to have another class in about a month. Anything else? Nope.
No, if you want
Ben.
any
Ben.
information,
Thank you very much
yeah.
for being
Appreciate
here. I
it. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, not a problem. We'll talk to you soon.
Yep.
So yeah, please.
This is
take
actually
some
the first
cards.
time I've met him in person.
Yeah.